Alright, so my name is Madeline Paquette, and I decided to do my presentation on a study called Good Heavens, What Pollinates It, which is a study that is based on the pollination syndrome hypothesis and a specific species of fungi and how it can be potentially pollinated by small non-flying mammals in Brazil. Alright, so again, this was based on the pollination syndrome hypothesis. A couple examples of this would be how it looks, smell, rewards of pollination, structure, and how all those attributes can be beneficial to a pollinator, such as a small rodent, a small insect, or a small bird. And pollination biologists did do this study in Brazil in 2019, and they focused on Scabialium fungiforme, which is a specific type of Balliforaceae. All right, so Scabialium fungiforme, again in the family of Balliforaceae. They are flowering, sexually producing, as you can see here. Here's a picture of them, really pretty. They do have the male and the female counterparts, and they're usually found in tropical regions. Balliforaceae is usually known to be haloparasitic, meaning that it inhabits the roots of a plant and has to inhabit that host in order to complete its life cycle. It's also usually pollinated by small insects and rodents. So knowing that, the scientists hypothesized that in Brazil, the small opossums that live there, also known as big-eared opossums, would be the main pollinators of the fungi that were in this study. This was based on some conclusions and some observations that were made with a similar type of fungi in Australia and in South Africa. They were also pollinated by marsupials and small rodents, and the goal statement of this is of this study is to determine whether or not this type of fungi is pollinated by the opossums and if it adheres to the pollination syndrome hypothesis. All right, so the methods that were used, they did go out in the Brazilian seasonal Atlantic forest in 2019. They did do this over 4 nights consecutively, and they did use camcorders and infrared camcorders to basically record whether or not the species of opossum was visiting the fungi. And they did this, like I said, 4 times, and the 2 study sites were about 50 meters apart, and they did this between 2100 hours and 400 hours in the evening and early morning. All right, so the results of the study, they did find that the opossums were the sole pollinators of the fungi, and they did find this because the opossums did visit the fungi several times a night, not just 1 or 2 times. Usually it was 2 to 7 times each visit, about 40 minutes apart and 25 to 70 seconds long each visit. And again, there were secondary pollinators such as mice, but they didn't visit the fungi as often at the same frequency as the opossums. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the video of the opossums and then show you some of the attributes of the opossum and the fungi. So as you can see, there's the opossum, and he has super thick fur, which is good for picking up some pollen from the fungi. It can help pollinate from site to site. Also, you're going to notice he has those really sharp claws, which is going to help claw up the fungi a little bit more and help him get more nectar. He also really likes the nectar, so that indicates that he uses that as a food source. Maybe smell is really good too. You're also going to notice how the fungi is really low to the ground, which is a good platform for the opossum to get up on there and get some more nectar. Also, you can't tell from the video, but the fungi also only produces the nectar at night, which is because it is usually evaporated during the day. So you can also see how there's some codependencies between those 2 species there, which would adhere to the pollination syndrome hypothesis. All right, so some conclusions and the broader impact of the study. So again, as predicted, the big-eared opossums did pollinate the fungi. They were the sole pollinators. And you can also tell that there was possible specializations in both species, so maybe they do depend on each other for survival.